it, so it should be posted.
Oh, good going, Bruce.
Huh?
Making more progress now.
Yeah, what Bill is referring to, that Bill and I and Ken were panicked all morning long trying to get everything to work, and I changed my operating system. And anyway, so welcome everybody. Thank you for all coming on a Saturday morning that you might rather be doing some other things. This program sort of came up at the last minute. We're looking for something that was relevant to talk about. And the more we thought about it, the more we thought, hey, this might be something that everybody would be interested in, and very critical with for our future. A lot of the things that have been talked about in the First Plymouth Fund and other looks at the future start with the building. And Grover, I'm glad that you're here, Grover. I'm glad that Chip's here and others that have an interest in the building. So what I would like to do is first give you, those of you who may not be fully aware of what the facilities team even is, and I think we're really pleased, really fortunate to have a team, both formal and informal, that looks after the building. And it starts with Carol Hainsey. She's just a great person to lead the facilities efforts. Warren is not here, unfortunately. He's on vacation in Arizona, getting ready to come back and do a whole bunch of other stuff for facilities. And I assist him now. We're co-leaders, but Warren is the lead. Bill Blunden, we can't live without, with his background in mechanical engineering and electrical, and Dal Ingold, Ken Brewster, and James Trotter, our new facilities manager, is a terrific hands-on guy. You know, we don't call a contractor. We just go up on he just goes up on the roof and fixes it, you know, things like that. And of course, too, we can't do it without our institutional memory, and that's Chip Cole. So Chip, thanks for everything that you do. And it turns out that Keith Connor also has gotten into some answering some questions about black mold and so forth. So anyway, thank you all. I'm going to start my screen share now. And we have an outline. We're going to kind of go back and forth and cover various key parts, but I will be showing a few pictures here if I can get it to work. And let's see. Okay. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, so that's our building as it appeared when it dedicated in 1959. I think it was built in 58 or 57. And you'll see that unlike a lot of churches, we built the main sanctuary first over here, and then we did the community hall later. And that starts right in here, and Plymouth Hall comes out this way in the early 60s. And I joined the church in 65, and the Plymouth Hall was already there.
Can you, Bruce, can you just make that bigger there to fill up the screen?
I wonder how I do that.
Maybe grab a corner and pull it away.
Yeah, just try, yeah.
Or hit if there's a green button up there.
I hate to.
Click on the green button in the upper left-hand corner.
Oh, there you go. Very
Hey.
good.
Oh, that's it. That's better.
Right.
Thanks, Bruce.
Right. So in the early 60s, we had Plymouth Hall added the chapel, the kitchen, and the Sunday school beneath.
What year?
In the early 60s sometime. I don't have an exact date. I know it was before 65, as I say, when I joined.
I heard 63 one time from somebody.
That sounds about right.
I think the drawings are dated 64, which is kind of amazing. Just 5 years later, they were ready to do a major addition to the church.
Right. Yeah, that was amazing. You're right.
There were surpluses in those days.
Right. So then in 92 or thereabouts, we had the big expansion. Chip was certainly involved. Were you the building chair or did you design it? Chip, I can't recall, but we added air conditioning. That was the big deal. And the whole office area, new office space for the senior minister, the covenant room, and the Odeon and the elevator were added in 92. And then in 2015, we had the redo of the sanctuary for sound, handicapped, and just generally made it more user-friendly. We had the ability to change the orientation, and a lot of conservation was done, energy conservation, windows and lights, and the building operating system was installed, the so-called BAS system. And when we did that, well, we got to where we are today. Okay.
Bruce,
Yeah.
just that little piece of history in the 1980s, I think is interesting that by that point, we decided the design of the sanctuary was not quite fitting to what we wanted, which is an interesting story in itself, how that we continually rethink how to best use the sanctuary. Because I remember as a choir member sitting in that original design of the sanctuary where the choir was split into two pieces on the side walls. And that all got renovated in a project in, I think, 88. I didn't have anything to do with that project, but it was a
Turn the volume so I can hear.
change to the way we worshiped, which eventually we didn't like that either because they made that platform really, really high.
Yeah.
It was quite restrictive to what we could do.
And I think Adrian has stepped out here, but I know indirectly, I think that was Bob Wright. Didn't he do a lot of that work?
Yes, he was a part of that design process.
Yeah. Right. So I'm going to move now into a little bit of funding for facilities. We get our funds somewhat through the operating budget, and in addition to the salaries of the maintenance staff, roughly $32,000 is spent on the interior and $32,000 on the exterior in the operating budget, which is way too low for a building of this size. Okay. Then we have, and we're fortunate to have the brand fund, which is about $1 million roughly, and it's dedicated. It's a restricted fund, as they call it. It's supposed to be used for emergencies. Well, we have a lot of emergencies, and it generates roughly $30,000 a year, and that it's for the building. The overall management of it is now done by the First Plymouth Fund. It used to be the endowment fund. But what they do is make sure that when we have an emergency, that it's within the scope of what the brand fund is supposed to be used for. There are private donations that occur from time to time, people who have a special interest in a particular thing that's already in the budget. You can't just sort of dream up something you want to do, but if the facilities team is wanting to do something and there aren't the funds, why we can get donations occasionally occur. A good example is tree trimming that occurred this last summer. And we had a 3-year program outlined because we couldn't afford to do it all at once. And some members thought, well, gee, let's just do it. And so donations were made to accelerate some of those tree maintenance. There are, well, I think at this point I will turn it over to well, no, let me finish off with Men's Fellowship also does have some limited funds that they have spent on Marlene's Garden. We bought a Zoom cart. We've done window covering replacements and things like that. And another significant one is Creation Justice. They were the ones that funded all our LED light replacement program. And so with that, I think I will turn it over to Ken Brewster, who wants to talk a little bit about a report that facilities is just completed under the leadership of Warren. And it deals a lot with deferred maintenance. So Ken, do you want to talk about that for a minute?
I'm glad to. What I'm going to do is actually read right directly from the report that Warren gave to us. The first heading is deferred asset maintenance. The operating budget for First Plymouth has historically underfunded asset maintenance for the church building and property. The 21-22 budget provides $32,000 for building and equipment and $32,000 for grounds maintenance. This is for a 60,000 square foot building built 60 plus years ago and a little over 5-acre campus. These budgets include both day-to-day maintenance of the facility inside and out, such as snow removal, lawn mowing, HVAC maintenance contract, but plus also periodical asset maintenance, scheduled and unscheduled, such as outdoor irrigation repairs, hardware replacement, part replacement, electrical repairs. The support infrastructure of this size and usage is very complex and has many components. It is difficult at this point to identify the exact number for the asset maintenance shortfall. We know the following. Number one, deferred asset maintenance led to a large backlog that made up a significant percentage of the 3.5 2015 renovation. Number two, because of renovation, many of the items that had been brought to serviceable levels and will not need capital asset maintenance in the next 5 years or longer. Number three, many of the assets that were replaced or modified during this renovation were on warranty. Thus, no expenditures from the operating budget to fix. However, this is a catcher right here. Those warranties have expired. Because of these factors, historical expenditure data may not be a good predictor for the future 3-year period. Therefore, the facilities team recommends that we identify an average of about $40,000 for capital budget each year for the estimated gap in asset maintenance. During that period, we would develop a record of expenditures as well as conduct a deferred maintenance assessment. We could then better quantify the gap. The approach in the past has been when maintenance issues arise is generally on an emergency basis, applying for funding from the brand fund. Since the brand fund is a designated fund and is being rolled over into the First Plymouth Fund, it would be more desirable to make this a part of the maintenance budget. It is the facility committee's goal to have a building and grounds that are safe and functioning well for worship, fellowship, and similar activities. Several of the deferred projects could become safety hazards or lead to a larger damage if the systems involved fail. It is often thought that we can't have a capital budget or plan if we don't have revenues to match. However, the needs are still present with or without sufficient identified revenues. Therefore, this budget at this point is an identification of the most important needs and is a step toward identifying the resources to meet those needs. In reviewing the budget, the facilities team identified some elements that are not currently included in the current operating budget. Number one, elevator maintenance, roof leaks and roof damage repair and cleaning, outdoor irrigation repairs, window repair, HVAC maintenance and repairs, parking lot asphalt maintenance, tree pruning and care. An estimate of this is 26,000. These are some of the things that Warren has placed before us. And it's always easy, I think, to defer some of these activities. But I think it's crucial at this point that we look at these and address this issue. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Ken. Anybody have a question or two for Ken or rest of us about deferred
Yeah,
maintenance?
I have a couple here. I'm trying to get my arms around all these numbers. You say we have 32,000 in an annual budget for interior work, $32,000 for exterior work. So that's $64,000 in each year's operating budget for maintenance. Is that correct?
That's what I understand, yes.
And then what Ken just read said there's an average of $40,000 of the capital budget each year for an estimated gap. Is that above and beyond the $64,000 in the budget, or?
Yeah, well, that's a recommendation that the money's not there yet. We haven't done that in the past. What he's saying is we need to start moving in that direction.
But we're saying that above and beyond the
Yes,
$64,000, there's a need for another 40,000. Is that what I'm understanding?
yes, 64 just keeps the lights on and
Okay.
mows the lawn and a few things, a little bit for, emergencies and so forth. Yeah.
And the list he just read of elevator maintenance, et cetera, which totals $26,000. Would that be a part of that $40,000 gap that we're talking about, Ken, or is that yet another number on top of that?
No,
I think that's included in the 40,000,
Okay,
but I'm not
that
sure.
would make sense. Okay, thank you.
right.
I'd like to add that the operating budget includes much more than that $64,000 related to the operation of the building. The $64,000 involves no personnel cost. And Carol Hainsey has advised me that about 17% of our total personnel cost is directly related to the operation and support of the building. That's not only the custodial staff, but also the time and effort involved in managing the rental activities and other aspects of building operations.
Good. Thanks, Grover.
But bringing in outside contractors to fix something, that's in the 64,000 or the 40,000, right?
Or the brand fund distributions,
Or the
which
brand
this year will
fund,
be
yeah.
about $48,000.
Okay.
Right. And we do have contractors that come in, and Bill can get into this. Train is always there working on the HVAC system and things like that.
Yeah, our train contract is about, what, $1,100 a month? And that contract runs for about another 12 months, the current contract.
So I think I'd like to return now to some of the specific emergencies that we've had recently. But I want to mention before we totally leave this, the Memorials Committee is a source of funding, and that's supported by people, renting, purchasing the rights to be buried in the memorial garden. And that is, and as you'll see in some pictures here, in dire need of upgrade. I think it's around $50,000, but they have the money. But that's coming. They need to, when we reopen, it's an old bid, it has to be rebid. But that's a source of money, and that money has also been used in the labyrinth out there in the parking lot. I should mention the Learning Center too, that Noni, I guess she's retiring now, but we were able to apply for state funds there for upgrading Learning Center activities during the pandemic, and there's quite a bit of money there that's available, which we're going to be using for new bathrooms and other things to support the Learning Center. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Bill now. He's going to talk about our water leaks.
Yeah, I just might add on when you're talking about money in the budgets, the utility bills are going to be, current utility bills going to be around $70,000 a year just for Excel Power and for power and light, or power and gas. Emergencies. got a number of categories. I'll just cover them and then start talking about them. One is water leaks. We've had quite a few lately. The condition of the roof, the parking lot. Well, parking lot lights, HVAC, the sanctuary speakers, landscape, tree trimming. I'm going to start with water leaks, and then Bruce will discuss the roof, and then I'll come back and cover the parking lot and lights and such. You got that first picture of in November, we had a leak of the main line coming into the church.
Or, I thought you were going to talk about the stairwell leak. I didn't have a picture of that.
Oh, yeah, we had a front stairwell leak, a roof leak above that, coming in the front door and the stairwell that goes up to the loft, the roof above there. That 2 or 3 repairs were tried. They didn't work. Finally, about October timeframe, got a roofing contractor came in and did some repairs, and it's been holding since then. So that's taken care of for hopefully permanently. This is the hole that was cut in the driveway to access the 4-inch water main leak that occurred in November. That is the patch that was made, and hopefully that holds. I kind of wonder. And that's the patch in the concrete covering up the hole. Unfortunately, that work also nicked a electrical line going out to some lights, the signs at the entrance to the parking lot off of Colorado Boulevard, and 2 of the south parking lot floodlights. So electrical contractor had to be called in and use a finder, and they found the break right in the same area, and that's been corrected recently.
Hey, Bill, I have a question about the water. So that
Yes.
4-inch water main, that was the churches and not the city, I guess, right?
That's the churches, yeah, from the valve at the street beyond is our responsibility, yes.
Okay. So we had to pay for it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
What was that, Bill?
I'm trying to remember now. What was
I'm
that?
guessing 12 to 13,000.
I think in 12,000, yes. We had a crew out there for a whole day from Bell Plumbing and Heating.
We must have found it because we noticed an increase on the water bill. Is that right?
I don't know about the water bill. I'm sure it went up, yes, because that was open for about, I don't know how many hours, but maybe up to 24 hours.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad. 24 days might have made a big difference, but 24 hours is
No,
probably.
No, I think it was just a day or two.
Okay. Yeah.
But
All right.
How does insurance work?
You get a lot of water through a 4-inch line, though. That's
Yeah, that's true. It is. If it's a major leak, it's a lot of water. Hey, that's a good question, Jerry. What about insurance?
I think it's just wear and tear. It wasn't an accident or anything, so I don't think it was insured.
I don't know if
Oh.
it qualifies as a claim.
Okay. Okay.
There's a few years ago, one of the air handlers upstairs leaked and caused a lot of damage in the church. It's going back about 5 years ago now, 2017, 2018, and there was a claim made on that.
Okay.
Right, and this might be the good time to mention Carol Haynes again. She's really good at stuff like that and recovering old claims. She's done an amazing job of getting us money that we didn't know we could get. Not just on insurance, but on the payroll protection plan and sort of a tax rebate that's coming too. So, all right, what else, Bill? Are you ready to go on?
Yeah. Next, we got 2 leaks that are currently active. This is one. This is not it directly, but here we have a picture of our two new boilers, fairly new, put in 2015, 2016. If you look at the flues coming off there and going over to the wall up above, up to the right, we've had leaks there coming down into what is an old chimney. If you look at that brickwork, you look at the floor, there's James Trotter has put down some lime soaking up this leak. It's been active for some time, several months, maybe a year or more. And let's go to the next photo, Bruce. These are condensing boilers, so we have wet flue gas coming off of them, which condenses in the flues when it hits cold air. And that's the wrong one, Bruce. That's one of them. There it is.
Yeah.
This is looking in the chimney, and the flue goes up outside the roof from those. This is one of the ones from the boilers, and you can see the condensation that's occurring there and coming out on the outside there. And because this is flue gas, it's been condensed. It's acidic. It is normally collected and put through a chemical neutralizer before it enters the floor drain. And that's one good picture we got. And then the next one, or back one, Bruce.
We'll go back.
At the 90-degree elbow entering the chimney, there's a natural collection, and there's not that one, the little one with the showing the 1/2-inch piping.
That one there?
Yeah, this is a drain off of this that normally is a spot, would be a low spot to collect the condensate, but it was never evidently never connected up to the drain.
Great.
So this is just or it broke loose. I don't know. The way we see it now, they're not connected.
Yeah.
So perhaps this was work that was not completed during the last renovation when the new boilers were installed. The other current leak is down in the Learning Center. If you got that ceiling leak, Bruce, there it is. There's James. This is in actually in room B24. And you can see the black spot there. We suspect that that's mold. And you can tell from the ceiling tiles that there was a lot of water coming out at the time, and this was January, I guess. But evidently, this has been a long-term leak that has occurred before. So show the next one. Looking inside this, where James is looking, we got a couple photographs, and we could see the corrosion there. And that's, if you look at that corrugated metal, that's the bottom, that's the kitchen, the metal of which the kitchen floor is poured on. And then different pipes that are going up to the dishwasher, to the ice maker, to a drinking fountain, different things in that area. And the leak is stopped. We still are not sure where it is. I crawled up in the attic above the kitchen, looking at the roof, looking for leaks up there. I could not see anything. It did occur after a good snowfall and then a fast melt.
So it wasn't really a leak, it was more of a flood, and they had garbage cans full of water all of a sudden, and then it quit when the snow quit.
Yeah.
And then James, bless his soul, went up there and found a suspicious looking pipe and poured some tar around it and whatnot. And since then, when it snowed, we haven't had any big leaks.
Yeah, we took that one suspicious looking pipe and poured water in it. And poured water in the dishwasher drains in the sink there, and didn't see any leaks occurring. So it's still a mystery to us.
So, you mentioned the black mold, right?
Yes, I did.
Right. So is there more to say on that? Anybody have a comment on that? And I will try to set up the story on the roof survey, roof situation.
Yeah, go ahead with the roof, Bruce.
Now, let me say a word or two about it. For the last year or two, we had an unsolicited contractor came by and this was under, I think this goes back to Ken Sawyer's time. And did this drone video. And then another roofer came by and said, well, you've got a terrible roof there and it needs to be replaced. And we've been going back and forth on that for at least a year now. And Chip might want to chime in here because the basic roof is sound. And but we've now finally gotten not a roofer. The guy who came by and said we had a bad roof was a roofer, but a roofing consultant we've engaged. And as soon as the weather clears, he's going to get up there and tell us how bad it is. There's a lot of pictures that look kind of bad. A little seam has burst here or there, and a tile has burst. So we want a firm estimate of how bad our roof is, and it relates to some of the work of the net zero team, because we ever put solar up there, why we have to be able to do it. On the other hand, if it's going to be replaced, there's now tiles that themselves are solar, active solar panels. So a lot that could happen that depend upon a firm understanding of the roof. I want to show you the Zoom video. You might be interested in it. And so while I fiddle around here to get it going, Chip, do you want to chime in and say anything?
Is this that drone video?
Yeah.
My question is, all the pictures you've shown, none of them seem to be an actual roof leak, though. Do I understand that right?
Well, Jerry,
Yeah,
you could be right, Jerry, that the leak could be other piping interior to the building, or roof leaks tend to have this mystery of coming down and going horizontally to some place where it finally shows up on the ceiling, and you can't necessarily find the source of the leak.
Well, I think it's a good idea to have the analysis done. Everything I've been hearing is that the roof is leaking all over, and nothing I've seen this morning looks like a direct roof leak. And I know water travels horizontally and you have no idea half the time where it's coming from, but that's just an observation that I.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, now we're going to see family pictures. Oh,
Yeah.
I could find, Jerry, looking up there for 15, 20 minutes, no indication that the leak was leaking anywhere in that area. I
think we'd be wise not to talk about roof leaks, but just to talk about having a roof analysis to see what kind of shape the roof's in going forward.
That's what we are doing.
Yeah, we've got one scheduled coming up here sometime this spring.
But maybe not talk a lot about roof leaks, because I'm not sure we have any right now. Anyway.
Well, I'm not having a lot of luck in getting to where I want to go here. So
But tell us about your family down there, Bruce.
yeah. you should be seeing James Trotter at the moment, right?
You have a couple roof pictures there, Bruce? Did you include those?
The only thing we have, I'll show you one picture, and that is
Well, the tile. Piece of tile.
This is what happened to my? What are you guys seeing? Are you seeing
A whole bunch of pictures.
Yeah, you gotta
that's
select that picture. There you go.
There you go.
that's what these tiles look like, and we have a bunch of them back there by the trash can where they were at one point on the building and were removed for expansion or something like that. We're not exactly sure, but you can, but they're not the things that are waterproof, as Chip can attest, that there's a large rubber product membrane that actually keeps the water out, and this keeps the membrane from being damaged by hail and weather and so forth.
There is probably several hundred that are cracked that show up in the video. It could be 400 or 500, but they're still in place. There may be a few that are missing. I'm not sure. Other areas of concern are around flashing areas that may need some corrective work.
Okay, so let's, I don't want to, unless I can quickly, while you're talking about the parking lot, Bill, we'll move on, so.
Yeah, let's go on to the parking lot. The parking lot is a mess. Here is one of the potholes that we hope to have corrected here as soon as we have some warmer weather. What is that estimate is what, 8,000 or 10,000, Bruce?
97.
9,600.
9,600.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get these filled in and which, like I said, takes some warmer weather, and they do some treating, so it's not just a quick fix. It's a longer term fix, and they'll also do some limited crack sealing, I believe. You can see some cracks there along this drive. Is this the drive in front of the church?
Yeah, that's in front of the south entrance, you know.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's
Bill,
go.
what-
Yes.
when you're talking about the ceiling, is that going to be a total surface ceiling or just a
No.
application to the cracks?
It's an application. I don't think it's all the cracks either. It's just, I think it's limited because there's so many. You can see, go to that next photo, Bruce. There you get an idea of how the cracks spread out. It's
Yeah, I don't recall the name
a
of
little
the.
hard to tell cracks from shadows there.
Right, but, you know, I don't recall the process, but I think they bring in a big iron, a big thing that sits off the back of the truck, a big square iron that heats up the whole area and it stirs it all up. And then they add some material as necessary and then put it back down. And so there are these large patches that will occur. And this is only going to occur on the main parking lot road that comes in, you know, from the Colorado Boulevard and curls around the church, get back down to the dumpsters is basically the area that's being done. But a full fix of the whole parking lot from soup to nuts is, you know, like $100,000. And we just we didn't feel this is the time or the place to do this. And by the way, this is a good example, as the other two things we just saw, of brand money. So we apply to endowment First Plymouth Fund and get our funds from that. So.
We are getting close to the point where the drives and the parking lot need to be scraped and totally repaved.
Yeah,
That's the $80,000 to $100,000 item in the future.
Okay, so I guess we can move on to the west parking lot, Bill and.
Yeah, you have the sidewalks there too, Bruce?
Well, I'll do that later. I'll do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, to me, it's all part of the same thing, but okay.
That's concrete, yeah. So Bill and James have done a great job. This started with when we did the LED light replacement, we did both the interior and the exterior. But when we got to the west parking lot, there was no place to put the bulbs in because the poles were missing or gone. And so Bill can tell you all about that. But he and James did a lot of work on this, a lot of sweat equity.
I call these the mushroom parking lot lights, and they're in the west lot. There was 8. At this point, there was 7. One was taken down a couple of years ago and it went missing. 2 of them, this is one of the bent ones. James and I took this one down. We took one from the other side and put it in the place of this one. And so now we have 4 operating lights. And this is showing this was a mistake I made with the LEDs. They got screw-in light bulbs, and I made a mistake that, I could just take out the existing bulb and screw in an LED. So I did that, and then we turned them on. They came on, they looked good, and then the next day they were burned out.
Right.
I gave David Nestor a call and says, look for ballast. And I said, where could there be ballast? And he said, in the pole. Well, sure enough, there it is. So we had to do
And Bruce, could I comment on that, please? Because I think it's important to sort of Jerry's question is, yes, we should find ways to do things economically, but I do get worried when we take on self-performed projects that we shouldn't do. So I'm glad Bill showed me this and told me this story, because I got worried about Bill's safety, and I think the church should be worried about who is fixing what and making some safety decisions, all of which means these kind of things should be budgeted and fixed by a licensed electrical contractor, or we could have an injury on our hands. So it's a matter of more budgeting to prevent injury.
I guess
it turns out, Chip, this was really, once we knew this was out, we could pull the ballast out. It was just a matter of clipping wires and reconnecting.
Yeah.
It was much easier than the rewiring the lights down in the learning center. That was a little more complex, as it turned out.
I'm kind of in Chip's camp on this, because I'm recalling some things I did in my youth, my spent youth, where I wired things up incorrectly and, didn't set it on fire, but I made the toilet electrical hot. It was the shower curtain was buzzing. So yeah, you gotta watch.
Anyways, this is done. There's the 4 on the west side of the 4 operating ones are closer to the building, and these are the other 4 on the west side of that west lot.
This is
Bill, are we
looking
gonna
south.
is there a plan to replace those 4 poles that are missing, or are we just gonna let them go?
Well, we've got a bid for I think it was $34,000 to put in new lights at these locations. They would not be the same as what's existing. It'd be they would not come directly from the ground like that. There'd be a concrete ballard mount, and then will go up 2 or 3 feet, and be more conventional light that's installed these days. I don't
Right.
I
That
don't know
way,
if these these
right.
lights date back to the 50s, I believe.
Right. What that does, what those big concrete ballasts do is it protects the pole, because a car would have to be going about 40 miles an hour to crash through that. So, yeah.
Yes, that's our problem, is people are backing into these poles because they're right at car level.
Right, right.
And we're
So
gonna,
right now we got, there was 5 good ones. We got the 4 we're using, and we got 1 as a spare.
Okay. All
Right.
right.
and
That's
we're
where we
gonna-
are now.
We're gonna try to put some protection.
So that was a
for-
temporary fix without spending any money.
Got it. Okay, good.
Oh, let's see, I guess that's the end of the parking lot, right? So I'll just make a brief comment on the sanctuary speakers, the blue wall, we've had problems with those almost from the get-go. Apparently at the moment, and then they're not working at all. And they've outlived their warranty. We've been replacing them fixing them with a warranty. But the last time we tried to fix them, the warranty had expired. And so we sort of abandoned them for the moment. And this is more of a Joel operation than a facilities team.
Where exactly are these, Bruce?
That,
Where exactly are these?
the big blue wall, when the sanctuary is oriented north and south.
This is right behind where the pulpit would be.
right behind
Yes.
the pulpit.
And when Jenny's standing there, you can see these cracks.
Right, well, they're not cracked, but.
Well, where they pulled apart.
The main thing that facilities gets a lot of feedback from the congregation is it looks ugly. Now, this has nothing to do with the speakers at all, but there's this fabric that covers it, and then they look at that and they say, oh, that's ugly. But the big problem is the speakers. We're working on that, or Joel is, as to what to do. He's got new portable ones. So I just thrown that in there as something that's going to be taken care of, probably through some sort of a wooden masking thing. So we have it on our list of things to do. Now, the only point I wanted to make here.
Bruce, comment, please.
Sure.
These are new enough. Yes, they're not in warranty, but these are new enough for me to raise some flags and bring some people together to say, this is not acceptable. I need a report of some kind as to why they're not working, or we're not using them. One or the other. I mean, I need to know what's happening here, because I think I can bring some heads together and maybe knock a few heads and say, come on, these things are not that old. These are very expensive, and they're quality speakers, and I'm not sure what's going on here, but I think we should investigate. And I know who to call to do that.
Okay, I'll make a note of that, and I'll let Carol and Joel know, because it's been ever since I've been on facilities, it's been a big frustration,
Well, it sort of points out, I get worried about things that sort of just get abandoned, probably because, there's worry that, well, we don't have any money, but we actually shouldn't just abandon the idea. There are experts out in the industry that can help us solve problems. Some at no cost, at least the advice at no cost.
Okay, well, point well made. So I'll pass that on. So, and it all hit when the final failure was when the church was closed, and we partially opened, going north-south, and so it just sort of did get kind of abandoned. You're right.
I understand that the speaker manufacturer won't take any responsibility for shipping and installation, taking out speakers. I don't know if they offered a replacement or a new model. I don't think they would do that even.
Well, let's talk about this offline, because
Yes.
there's still pressure that can be brought to bear.
That would be great.
Okay, let's see, I want to talk next about, it's not a perfect picture, but we had a $16,000 3-year project to trim the trees. We had Davy Tree Company give us an estimate for about 16 trees or so for $16,000 or thereabouts. Not the ones up against the building, but out on Hamden, Colorado, and Marlene's Garden in the parking lots. They didn't think that the ones up against the building, which are fruit trees, really needed to be done. But some of us felt that they did need to be done. And the problem with fruit trees is that they have to be pruned in their dormant period in the winter. They can't do it in the summer. So 3 or 4 of us were out there about a month ago, and you can tell there's our glorious leader Warren with his chainsaw on the roof, trimming the fruit trees, and that's Harry. Harry's got a special love for the trees on the property, as do I. And whenever there's a work project involving the fruit tree, the trees, or the landscaping in general, you can count on Harry to be there.
That looks like far more dangerous work than what I took under.
Well, you don't get electrocuted. But you're right. And there's our newest member of the facilities team earning his pay. But part of this is where I mentioned before, we had a 3-year project. We allocated $5,000 out of the brand fund, by the way, to do a third of the trees, but some of us thought we should do them faster, and we made a donation so that could get done. So.
Thank you.
Now we can turn to some other urgent needs that we've identified, but there's no funding for at the moment. And these are some pictures of our deteriorated concrete, mainly on the portico side of the courtyard side of things.
Yeah, that shows spalling of the concrete there.
Right.
Probably due to freeze-thaw cycles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
No, it has to do with bad concrete.
Well, and age. Yes.
And I can raise a flag about that one too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this is all out there on the south, on the west, the east portico. And then this is the Memorial Garden, as I say, not a direct responsibility of facilities, but we have to approve everything that's done. There's a committee. Diane Hoagland is head of the Memorials Committee, and this is fallen into disrepair. And I didn't get a shot of that slope area that shows where the different plots are named for. So. And that'll be gearing back up again, I think, soon. That's the kind of thing we're facing. Phil, you want to say a word about this? So that's kind of a joint with Creation Justice, but this is one of the good things.
Oh, yeah, this is yeah.
Let me back up. Hold it. Let me back up and just say 2 other things that are identified as urgent needs, but which there's no funding for, and they're not really defined too well yet. But the Futures Committee have been looking at ways to rent the church out more, and we need to have ADA compliant bathrooms on the 2nd floor. And Dal Engel is actively pursuing those estimates as to what it would take to make those bathrooms. They have showers at the moment, but they're not ADA compliant. Another thing that's coming along, again, we got grant fund money to do the study, and that is the emergency preparedness plan. It's there lurking in the background. We know we're somewhat vulnerable because of where we are and our position on social justice issues. We've had instances of people defacing the property and taking signs down and that kind of thing. So we feel that and that's a facilities initiative on that. And finally, the contractor, and it's about a $15,000 study, will be visiting us on May 15th and 16th, I believe it is, and then see what we need to do to harden the site. There could be money available for that through various federal grants and other things like that. And then any questions about those two items? I'm gonna, Bill, why don't you talk a little bit about the BAS system and the HVAC and all that, and the utility bills.
Well, let's just jump over it quickly. I mentioned earlier, we're talking about money that we're perhaps running utilities at 70,000 a year for Excel electric power and natural gas. The most recent bill for February is $6,400. The big components are probably the air conditioning, HVAC system, and lighting. Lighting being second to HVAC. Trying to get a handle on that and look at the system. See if we can make improvements at how it works. I think there's some room that way. The BAS Bruce mentioned is the train control system that controls the chiller, the air handling units, and the valves and the dampers, and the many other components in the system. That's quite extensive. I was there last 2 days. We had a report that the loft for the youth met on Sunday night was quite hot Sunday night. So it's some things like that and I think at times we have we got heating going on in one place and air conditioning on another. So we hope to dig into that and make some efficiency improvements in how the system works. Already we've made a couple tweaks to control set points that hopefully have the chiller coming on a little bit less than it is currently. This is from, well,
I'm just setting you up for your next talk here, but keep going.
Well, we kind of covered the LED. Yeah, that project is complete. We've got probably 98, 99% of the lights in the church are LEDs. The other ones are, well, I keep finding some here and there that are not. I know 4 more I've got to change out. But compared to, I don't know, 1,500 to 2,000, that's small. There's other ones that there's not LED replacements. An example is the sign at the corner of Hampton and Colorado. It's got 10-foot fluorescent tubes in it. There's no LED for replace those tubes. That cost, we had an estimate in the neighborhood of $80,000 from a contractor to do what we did over the last year and a half. We doing it ourselves. We've spent maybe 1/10 of that, maybe $8,000.
Right. And so at this point, I think it's worth noting that this money came from the Creation Justice Ministry, which in turn came from the e-waste collection drives that we've been doing for eight or 9 years. And thanks to Larry Strasser, who applied to the, anyway, we got a cool congregation award from the
Yes.
power, what is it? The
Interfaith Power and Light.
Power and Light Company.
IPL.
Yeah, which is not a power and light company, it's an environmental advocacy group.
Yes, it is.
But anyway, thanks to Larry, we got an award, we got $1,000, which we plowed right back into the Green Energy Fund. So
Well, I didn't do that alone. I had a lot of help, so.
that's true, but you are dogged in pursuing it. Thank you. Okay, so let's moving on. We're nearing the end here. I want to talk about the capital planning budget, long-term replacement program. But this is coming under the general category of recent successes. And back to Chip's point, particularly on the outside of the church, we do a lot of tree trimming, general cleanup, work on the west parking lot. You remember those fixtures that are over there that are so miserable? This is the youth. They made it a youth project. They to do some of that work on the west boundary. There's Jack Cattell and Dal Ingle and Warren. This was another project we did, cleaning up the front of the church and redoing the rock, the rocks. This is back on the west parking lot project. Putting down, and this is we're going to be putting down this fabric. We put this fabric down, and now we're going to mulch it with the big 2 piles of mulch out there that they left for us when they did the tree trimming. So when the weather turns good, we'll be out there, hopefully maybe with the youth as well, spreading the mulch. That does bring to mind, though, one of the things Chip said about doing the stuff ourselves. And is Joe still here? Joe, are you still here? I don't know. Joe Shaw was here, and we had a big work project, general cleanup and spruce up just prior to Jenny coming. We were trying to make the place look good for Jenny, and it was a hot June day, as I recall, and Joe had an episode.
I am here.
You are here.
And alive.
Yeah, so this is an example of we don't want to bite off more than we can chew, or we could get into some real problems. So glad that you're with us still, Joe.
Me too.
Yeah, Bruce, some of us are at a stage like the building. We need to be careful about what we do.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, some of us are reaching the end of our useful life too. Okay, so Bill, this got placed wrong, or what are we looking at here?
Well, that's a fan coil unit. We've got one that's out of service now. It's not this one. This one was just was easier to photograph. These are mainly hidden up in ceilings all over the place. If you go upstairs in the room next to the La Ferre room, that one's got motors that are burned out. New motors have been ordered and will be replaced in the unit and be returned to service here shortly.
Right.
There's about 30 or 40 of these things spread around the building. But other than this one, they're pretty much all hidden.
I was gonna say, is it fair to say that you've been frustrated by a lack of drawings and as-built information about where the stuff all is?
Well, it's been an education process for me.
Okay, so
Each time I dig into it, I learn a little bit more. Still got some more to learn.
so my final slide here is just as the latest thing that we are now able to do now that we're reopening again, and the facilities gets involved with this, but it's a creation justice joint project that we have. We're now going to begin to compost all of the waste from our interior to the building that can be that fits the criteria, and that's going to be maybe food scraps, recyclable or compostable cutlery we're going to use, and other compostable products like plates and so forth. We still want to use wash the, the china, but there will be times when we'll be doing composting. So we're quite pleased with that. And we changed contractors so that we could do this. It's part of the recycling and the waste pickup that GFL is Green for Life, our new contractor. So with that, I'm going to turn briefly to, and again, Grover, you want to jump in here too, but we have recently completed a very, very rough draft, and this is for some of the long-term financial future planning of the church on a capital replacement budget, which is for replacement of everything from the carpet to the kitchen, to landscaping, to the parking lot, plumbing, roof, sanctuary, all of that. We've gotten hold of a new computer program that Carol is working with that will break down our capital needs for these kind of items for 5-year increments, 5, 10, 15, all the way out to 20 years. And in the first, for the first 5 years, we're looking at $1 million in rough terms. 10 years, $2 million. 15 years, 22 million. No, wait a minute, I've lost a decimal point in it. No, 15 years is 2.4 million and 20 years is 2.8 million. Well, those outer years are, not very reliable at all. None of this is adjusted for inflation, but just for the first 5 years, we're talking roughly $1 million. And this is a work in process. We made estimates of what the condition was in all these categories, and then what their useful life there is. And so, let's see, Grover or Bill, do you want to add anything to this at this point?
It's are you able to share your screen, Bruce, and show the spreadsheets for the life cycle replacement?
No, I guess the short answer is no. I don't have it on I just have the hard copy.
Well, I could share my screen if
I think everybody's we set it up so everybody can share a screen. I can stop sharing.
let's
You want
see.
to share?
Well, a comment I'll make is this: it is a very detailed and a very useful work product that the facilities team has provided. Several of us have been working on building a multi-year financial plan to show the results of the operating budget if we maintain programming, staffing, and so forth on the current course. And what we were missing was the capital budget for our building. And what we have is a very detailed projection of life cycle cost and specific capital needs for repairs, replacement, and maintenance. And when I look at it, I see a projection that's more likely than not an understatement of the needs, at least as to timing. I'll give you an example. For the roof, which we've been talking about, the capital budget plan anticipates replacement of the roof in 2032, 10 years out. There is no capital investment in the roof from now until 2032. And the cost at that point is $370,000. This plan, it looks to me like there's a 4% cost escalator in this computerized program that is part of our church management software system. That can probably be changed, but that's what it looks to me like. if this assessment that is about to be done of the roof were to conclude that the roof or a substantial part of it needed to be replaced earlier than 2032, today we don't have the resources to do that. Similarly, the parking lot, the capital budget shows an investment of $253,000 in 2028 for the parking lot. Another $14,000 in 2030, and then nothing else all the way out to 2052. As I said, it is a very useful work product because it does have a detailed listing of the components of the building, both structural, furnishings, finishes that need to be replaced or repaired or maintained over a period of time. And as Bruce said, it's a work in progress, but it's a very useful work in progress. And from my perspective, I think understates the challenge that we are faced with.
Grover,
Yes.
is there in that planning any ideas so we could build a contingency fund to meet those needs that we could plan in? Like building up a particular fund for the roof or the parking lot and so on.
The capital reserve fund, yes.
Yes, something like that. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, we need that, definitely.
Well, we have a policy that was approved by council, a financial policy that was approved by council maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that created 3 reserve funds: a program reserve fund, a capital reserve fund, and an operating reserve fund. And those are funded by surpluses. We've been a little short of surpluses to fund those reserves.
Grover, what was the first one you said?
Well, there are 3: program,
Program. Okay.
and,
Thank you.
and capital. The capital reserve has, I think, $34,000 in it. The operating reserve has $64,000, and the program has much less than that. Typically, a church or other not-for-profit organization with capital needs like this would fund them through periodic capital campaigns in addition to reserves. I think it's unlikely that we can generate reserves in the amount needed for these future capital investments through surpluses from our operating budget.
Right. So, well, is there anything else anyone wants to comment about replacing the basic parts of the church?
I like the second, what Grover said, that most likely what is there is understated for future capital requirements.
Right, and this is in addition to what Ken brought up about deferred maintenance too. That needs to be done even before this is done. So.
Well, Grover, maybe I don't know this, but does our current budget or the one proposed for next year have any money going to a capital reserve account?
No, not unless there were a surplus that resulted from next year's operation.
I'm just saying it would be nice if that was in the budget somehow, but yeah.
What
Okay.
it does have is at least the very preliminary budget has what was referred to earlier, maybe by Bill, as an additional investment in capital improvements for the building of $40,000.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure, but I think that is in addition to the distribution from the brand fund.
Yeah.
So there's 32, 32, 40, and then something from the brand fund that might be in the budget. Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
And the brand fund is 30 to maybe $40,000.
This year it's actually 48,000.
Good, yeah. And we cannot spend any of the principal.
Right.
No.
And as I understand it, the last time we had a quote surplus was in 2017-18. I
Correct.
believe that's what they said to us. And the only way we balanced it in the last couple of years, as I understand it, is from some of the funds that have come from the federal government with reference to COVID.
Susie smiles. Susie, who's on this call, smiles when you talk about the surplus in 2017. That was the year she was moderator.
I vote for her. Bring it back. Let's sign the petition today. How about that?
Yeah, thank you, Susie.
Susie.
Sounds like we need another pandemic. We got some more government funds.
Okay,
There's got to be a better way than that, Jerry.
I'd like to wrap this up, and all of this has been on existing infrastructure and existing programs, sort of. I only have 2 words to add to this, and then I want to turn it over to Ken and maybe Susie to solve all this for us. But anyway, and that is net zero. And now that's something that's coming down the pike that Larry is heading up the task force, and that could be a lot of funding requirements. Although the church across the street were given the strict the Universalists. They've gone a long way toward net zero with a geothermal system and a solar system and so forth. And they were told by the church fathers and mothers that they could spend no more than what they're already spending on electricity and gas. So they managed to do quite a bit. That was my understanding, right, Larry? And
Yes, that's true. I mean, they've gone a long way. I've tried to figure out a return on investment for them, and whenever I've mentioned that, they say that, well, that's really not important. We're trying to save the earth, and so we're willing to spend some money on that. I think that eventually, 20, maybe 30 years, they will they'll start saving money. Okay, they'll actually save money, but it's a long-term investment. But in the meantime, their carbon footprint is as close to, it's not zero. It would be if people who with EVs plugged in their car batteries and ran it into the church, which they're talking about. I think they're actually going to do that. But of course, that electricity has to come from somewhere. So, that, but in any event, they've done remarkable work. I mean, they have a very nice geothermal and lots of solar. And so anyway, we for us to approach net zero would cost a lot of money. It would add another $1 million at least to what your figures are now. So but in any event, we're still in the process of figuring that out. And but I think we could. There are things we could do to at least help. Even if we don't get to net zero. Of course, the cheapest way, believe it or not, the cheapest way to get to net zero is to pay someone else to build solar panels for us out in the field somewhere. That's actually the cheapest way.
right, solar garden, yeah.
Yeah, right. But I would rather not do that. I would rather reduce our electric use rather than have somebody else. I mean, and I think most people are like that too, at least on the net zero task force. So, but I mean, it is attractive to just, let somebody else build the solar panels and we'll just pay them. And then we can claim net zero. It's like the, what do they call that? Carbon offsets, I think, right? For the companies. Yeah, carbon, it's essentially a carbon offset. And I guess in the big scheme of things, that's actually helps reduce carbon dioxide emissions. But we need to do something faster than that. I mean, we're rapidly reaching a tipping point. I saw something the other day about the western ice sheet in Antarctica, and it looks like that's falling into the ocean down there faster than they thought. And if that goes in, sea levels rise 2 feet within a year.
Right.
So, I mean, and what that means is that there's a whole bunch of islands in the Pacific that just are gone, right? Florida is gone.
Miami would go.
Miami's already gone. I mean, if you've been down there recently at high tide, and in Hollywood, not in Miami, but a little north of that in Hollywood, the hotels down there don't use their first floor anymore. So anyway, yeah. And here's the other thing that we never put into our models. And it looks like now the more they study it, there's a huge amount of methane in the tundra. As that warms up, it releases the methane, which is a gas that's 10 times more, at least 10 times more effective in holding in the solar radiation than carbon dioxide is. And so as it warms up, more methane it comes out and more comes out. And you talk about, the cost of sequestrating CO2 is high enough. Trying to sequestrate methane is unbelievably costly. So I don't think there's a technological solution to this. I think we're going to have to actually, cut our gas, cut our fossil fuel. What we produce and what we use. I just think we just have to do that. But that's a hard pill to
National
swallow.
Geographic show on Siberia, where there's huge big holes that opened up in the tundra and just bubbling. The stuff was coming up out of the bottom of the holes. It was methane. It's terrible.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that same program showed lakes in northern Alaska where methane just bubbling up.
Right.
Out of the water.
To
Okay,
the
and
bottom of the lake.
That was never in our climate models at all. In fact, we don't even have, our satellites that we put up the last 20 years to monitor temperature and climate change and everything. We didn't really put in the sensors to accurately, precisely anyway, measure the amount of methane. So we're scrambling now to recover. I mean, to try to put up surveillance satellites that will start monitoring methane more closely. But methane was never in our models. I mean, the increase of methane was never in our models for climate change as the Earth warmed. CO2 increase was because as the oceans warm, they release more CO2 to the air. So and that's pretty well understood chemistry. Methane from the Arctic, from the tundra, is not well understood. I mean, not as well understood as carbon dioxide. If you watch a beer warm up and you watch the CO2 come out, you understand that, right? And chemists have understand that for over a century. But methane coming from the tundra is not well understood. So we've got a long ways to understand the science. We just know it's bad. Whatever the answer is, it's not good. So anyway, and I'll shut up there.
Well, thanks for that, Larry. And by the way, I did get a hold of Milt Hedrick over at Universalist, and I'm hoping next month for this group that he's going to be able to come and talk to us all about what they did over there.
Yeah, that would be great. And by that time, we'll have a cost estimate, I hope, rough order of magnitude anyway, of what it would cost us to get to net zero. So at least we can put a bogey down on the table, you know, and say, you know, if we're going to keep our church up, it's going to cost us $5 million or whatever. Oh, and by the way, if you want to do net zero, it's going to cost you another $1 million on top of that. So, but any event.
Very good.
Larry, it's interesting because if you look back, 60 million years ago when the asteroid hit and destroyed the dinosaurs. And then if you know anything about Yellowstone, we talk about the super volcano there, and there's 3 times it's gone off. The last was 600,000 years ago, plus or minus. But in both of those cases, something exterior was causing the problem. We're
Right.
doing this to ourselves, not just the United States, worldwide.
No,
Maybe not in
everybody.
Africa.
Okay.
Right.
We're doing it to ourselves. It's just like keep on smoking that cigarette and figure out eventually it's going to get you. I'm sorry,
right.
to be that way, but that's just it.
Okay, so thank you all for coming. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ken, and now I didn't realize that Susie was going to be tuned in, so you can see how your loyal staff performs. But Ken's going to figure out how we're going to solve all this funding problems in the church. So
3 easy steps.
from
No,
the
excuse me.
stewardship committee, this is Ken Brewster. He
Well,
wears
First off, thank you for all that you've done in attending this meeting this morning. As we can all see, this is a critical issue for us at the church. I know as a member of the stewardship committee, we go to different CAMs to make our presentation. And one of the things I do when I do this is I read the mission statement of the church. If you ask me why I am a part of this community, this faith community, it's that mission statement. But we also have to realize in order to carry out that mission statement, we need the infrastructure. That's the word we throw around both statewide and national. And that's the challenge we have. I'm sure that if we looked at a capital campaign, it's much more glitzy and much easier to quote sell to if you're talking about a renovation of the sanctuary or whatever. But the important issue is that we present this. And also, as I talk to my CAMs, is in the sense that let's increase our pledge. Let's not just stay where we are, but let's increase our pledge. I know we're looking at the people that are attending this. I'm sure you have already submitted your pledge because as of last week, we had almost 39% toward our goal of 700,000. And as if any of y'all have ever worked in stewardship, you realize probably those first 2 or 3 weeks are the if we call the easiest part of this. But please give prayerful consideration to that as we provide the infrastructure so that we can carry out the mission statement and be a very asset to our faith community in this area. Thank you very much.
Okay, and that's a nice way to end it all. Thank you all for coming.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Can you hear me? Ken, that was great. I'm not gonna, that's just a wonderful statement that you made. Tomorrow, I will be introducing stewardship again, and I will give you a heads up because Carol just got this to me at the end of the day, and I'm assembling it, and I will soon send it out to our committee. We have reached 50% of our goal.
Hey.
We've raised a little bit more than 350,000. But in these early weeks, these are the eager people who are getting their money in and they're increasing their pledges. So now comes the tough part, of getting the rest of it in. But for all of you who have pledged and have increased, our team is very appreciative. So thank you.
Susie, if we use a football analogy, we're on the 2-yard line trying to score that touchdown that's going to win the game.
That's right.
No, don't spike the ball before you get into the end zone.
No, that's
Right.
Okay, all right. Thank you all for coming. And
Good presentation, Bruce. And
Yeah.
thank you very much.
that went well. I'm very pleased with what Ken and Bill produced. Thanks a lot, and Larry too. Thanks, everybody.